Okay, you may start your meeting.
Thank you, Kevin.
Is it still recording?
Kevin, are we still recording?
Yep.
Because we heard a ding and it said. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you and welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting dated February 7th, 7 p.m. We have some reports from our trustees and we have Chief Lute with us here this evening. So Chief, if you want to start us off with a report on public safety. And if there are any participants who are here specifically to ask a question or make a comment with respect to public safety, we usually take those up front while Chief Lute is with us. So Chief.
Okay, so we want to bring to light a spike in county-wide persons entering unlocked vehicles. Okay, it's happening all over the county. They simply walk up driveways, tug on the door handles, proceed to the next house. When they find a car that's open, they go into the car. If you have spare change, if you have money, credit cards, they'll take just about anything that they can find to stick in their pockets. We're finding that in almost no instances are they breaking into cars. That is absolutely not happening countywide. I've reviewed dozens and dozens of these camera videos, the Ring camera videos, and we have several in the village. There's not just one or two, there's several. So what I can say is,
I'm sorry, Chief, just to let you know, we also have a representative from Suffolk County with us as well.
Oh, he signed in great. Is it
Yeah.
John?
I can't, I think it is. John?
It's
Yeah.
Sergio Moeller. Sorry, Officer Moeller.
Oh, hey, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a
Good,
while,
how are
brother.
Hi.
Doing well. So what we would try to tell you is just please lock your doors. Make it a last thing before you enter your house. Turn around, click your lock, make sure the lights go on. You've locked your car. Again, if you have your garage door opener in the car and you leave the car open, you're now giving them access to your garage as well. If you have a doorway into your house, you've now given them access to your house. So let's definitely make that a point of concern. There's also, we want to be crossing at the crosswalks. We have people still jumping out between cars. We're now in a condition where we have ice all the time, pretty much all the time. Early morning, late in the evening, people are still running out between parked cars. Cross at the crosswalks, be safe. Again, with the ice, you want to slow down, especially when you're coming to a hill. If you're coming down Broadway or you're coming down California towards Broadway, these are things where you want to go extra slow. Test your brakes a little bit before you get to a point where you actually have to stop. Okay, and that'll give you an opportunity to see if test the roadway, see what it's about. There's also, I'm sure you're going to go over this, but I'll go over it. We have a list of additional enforcement. That's California Avenue, speed and stop signs, Old Post Road and I'll go slow so I know you're copying. Old Post Road at Thompson, Puritan, and Laurel, that's for speed and stop signs. Belterre Road at East Broadway for stop signs. Myrtle at Belterre Road for traffic signal for past red lights. And North Country Road at Edgewood and North Columbia for speed and traffic signal red lights. There's also been a few complaints and notation was made. I did call the precinct for this as well, for cars picking up students on the south side of the high school on Old Post Road. They're making illegal U-turns there, and they're doing so as a danger to themselves and others because cars are coming down the hill and they're turning right in front of them. They're doing U-turns. So let's try not to do that. It takes a couple of extra minutes. They can go up to Brook, down into town, and back out Barnum and be, a few minutes. It's a 2-minute, ride instead of putting people at risk, including their own kids. And that is pretty much all I have.
Okay, I know we have the 6th precinct meeting is tomorrow at the precinct, correct?
That is correct, ma'am. At 10 in the morning.
10 in the morning, great. Do you have anything that you would like to add for this community in terms of any statistics that are jumping off the page or?
There's really nothing major jumping off as it is right now. I just wanted to echo the chief in regards to lock it or lose it. It's a program that the county always pushes, and just looking at some of the incidents that were reported this month, Many of them were very similar, or people just opening doors and taking stuff. These are opportunistic criminals. They're not confrontational in the sense that they want to rob you or get into a fight with you, but they take in a free opportunity in stealing just by opening your door. So in that aspect, we would echo that please lock your vehicle, lock your doors, take your keys with you. And a very good point in regards to the garage door openers, because that gives access to the house. Other than that, there were 16 criminal reports done. 6 of those were violations, which it was mostly harassment, people drinking, fighting, that kind of thing. And the other one were all misdemeanors, petty larcenies, things that can be, sometimes we can make a quick adjustment like locking the door and eliminating that from happening. Other than that, statistics have stayed low in Port Just Village, which is great.
Officer, could you please state your name again? I didn't get that before.
I'm Officer Sergio Moller.
Sergio?
That's correct, ma'am.
And the last name, M-U?
Moller.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question?
I'm sorry?
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sure, Bruce. If you could just raise your hand, it helps me visually see who's speaking. But
Okay.
Trustee Miller?
Apologies. Hello, officer. Welcome. We're hearing report after report on the news about the crime rate in the country, New York City. What is Suffolk County looking like in terms of changes in crime rate?
Well, like I said, in Port Just Village, it doesn't seem to be an increase in crimes. The only increase that we saw, it was really harassments, which is really people fighting, and most of those reports comes out of bars from people drinking. We haven't really seen an increase. As a matter of fact, car accidents in Port Just Village, for example, were half of what it was last year at the same time. But no, we haven't seen an increase.
Is the county experiencing an uptick in crime, or is that more some semi-stable, or what's going on there?
I think it's been stable. We haven't had anything major like what you see in report.
Okay.
City. It hasn't reached out here.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Is there anybody in the general public or some of the attendees that have a question with respect to public safety? If so, could you please raise your hand? And Kevin, could you admit them into the seminar, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm bringing in someone now. And Lorraine, you'll ask their name, please.
East West Integrated Wellness. Could you please state your name?
Yeah, I think I can start my video. How are you doing there?
Hi.
Everybody working? This is working. My name is Paul Ryan. I live at 102 Hawthorne Street. We're on the corner of California and Hawthorne. And I think I just raised my hand to first express my gratitude for at least the installment of the stop signs on California. I believe it has slowed some traffic down, although I do spend time looking out my window and seeing that it doesn't really slow some of the people who were speeding through before. And just the other day, I was on the street with this little one, Zara, and someone just sped down at like 55, 60 miles an hour. And we were right on California. There was no regard for the speed. So whether this is something for the Suffolk County officer who was just there and can think about how they might better patrol this street, it is a concern for myself, my partner, and for many of the people who showed up at the meeting to control the speed on the streets. And whether enforcement would work, or something that we initially had hoped that you would do would be to install speed bumps or kind of speed tables of some kind that could control the traffic and control the speed on the streets, because people are not heeding and their speeds are just extremely dangerous. So again, while it has improved, the people who were disregarding the speed limit law before are still disregarding it, the stop signs. So I encourage the town to reconsider for the implementation of speed tables or speed bumps of some kind to slow some traffic down, so that we can have some peace of mind here on California Avenue.
Thank you, Paul. Officer Mueller, do you want to respond to that? Do you have any special, did you assign any patrol cars to watch California, or any statistics on that?
I don't have access to that in front of me right at this moment. However, one of the things that we could do is we can bring our electronic speed meter, which shows people the speed that they're traveling when they're coming down California Avenue. If it's not a patrol check, I can add it as a patrol check for the patrol unit that is down in Port Jeff to take notice of what is taking place at California Avenue and Hawthorne. It's a concern to me as well. I have a little one, and I share similar problems in my neighborhood when people drive carelessly at a high rate of speed in the neighborhood. So if it's not a patrol check, we will add it as patrol check.
I appreciate that. And the reason why I would say that I had, because of the pandemic, there are many days of the week that we are home, and when we're out on the street, I've seen a Suffolk County car drive down California once. They did stop at the stop sign, but they have not been patrolling or keeping an eye. Both then the people on Old Post Road who attended the meeting as well and really wanted some kind of speed control for Old Post Road, as well as the potential of putting in sidewalks, because pedestrian safety is really an issue on that road. They all expressed their concern, and if any of them are here tonight, I'm sure they will continue that there is a need along Old Post Road and California for pedestrian safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, Rebecca, before I take you, I wanted to see if Chief Lute had any comments, or if I know you had some cars taking statistics the month of January.
We did, and also the California Avenue was put in for more patrols to Suffolk County PD twice now. I spoke to our old whiskey team, and they actually said that they're assigned to a unit that does specifically traffic enforcement several times a month, and they were going to try to get over here as well as the sector cars. When we, in fact, I do have the statistics still here. It was 1,137 cars, and approximately 890, can't read my own handwriting, over 890 made a complete stop. Approximately 100 slowed down significantly, and of course, about 10 to 15 just drove straight through all the stop signs, which, again, enforcement would catch those people and would target those people. But all the rest seemed to have made quite an impact, just putting the stop signs there.
Thank you, Chief. Rebecca, did you want to comment, please?
Just a question for our Suffolk County officer. The electronic speed check or radar system, does that record the speed and keep a record of what the speed was of cars going by, so that might help inform our traffic engineers of, sort of the time of day, frequency, and help create the most optimal solution?
Unfortunately, it doesn't. It just shows the driver the speed at which they're traveling, but unfortunately, it does not record any of the information you're asking for.
Sure, thank you. Is there anything that does this? I know when they do traffic studies, they'll put the little strip of.
I know that we have specific ones that record plates, but that's for they use that when they're looking for somebody, or they're looking for a pattern or travel or a specific person they're looking for, but it doesn't record any other data.
All right, thank you for that answer.
Yes, ma'am.
So we our traffic trailer has been winterized for the season. We have upgraded and worked with the vendor to get the equipment necessary to record the speed and count the number of cars. So that will be a new upgrade to our electronic traffic sign when it goes back up in operation. And Chief, what time of year can we expect our Traffic.
Generally,
signal.
it's temperature based, and it's usually in March.
Okay, good. So maybe when we break it out for the early spring season, we put it right back up on California, Hawthorne, up in that area
Right.
as a deterrent. Paul, I just want to speak very, frankly about the concept of the speed tables. If I heard that maybe there was a petition being circulated in the neighborhood, we would have to bring in the fire department into that conversation. They're very concerned about the installation and implementation of speed tables throughout the neighborhoods because it obviously is very difficult for their fire apparatus to maneuver the speed tables. We did install speed tables by the elementary school and by the high school, highly trafficked areas where we have children of all ages crossing from the elementary to the playing fields, and at the high school where they let out, and then, all sorts of congestion there at Old Post and Dark Hollow. They are really a mechanism of like the last resort with fire department approval. But we are exploring all sorts of other more creative ways of using paint and road enhancement amenities before last resort of installation of speed tables. So I just want to generally put that out there because there are many, unfortunately, many neighborhoods who have share the same, public safety concerns for their families, for the people who are traveling at high speeds throughout the edges of the highly trafficked roads in this community. So, that's this because it's the first time you attend a meeting with us. I just wanted to reply to that question of or comment about the speed table.
Thank you. I do realize the technical issues regarding speed tables. It's just would be the extra push to keep those last 10-15% of people from potentially causing some serious damage to property and or people here. I think in that vein of things, though, in terms of protecting people on Old Post Road, as we walk there, it is quite precarious. We're always nervous about everything we're doing. I would encourage the town to think about extending the sidewalk that comes up the hill of Old Post Road from the high school and down at least one side of Old Post Road, and as a way to keep pedestrians safe on Old Post Road. And then there is one stop sign, and I don't know the name of the street that the stop sign is on, but it's close to the hill on Old Post Road. It's only in one direction. There is another street or two that, maybe it's Jefferson, that could use another stop sign as a way of slowing some traffic down.
As cars are approaching, going east on Old Post, correct? Coming into the village?
Yes, going east, there's a stop sign there, and that does, slow traffic down. There is a street and two before that, at least two streets before that, I believe is Jefferson, that would be helpful to have a stop sign. As I know, the people the Cadells who live on the corner of that Jefferson and Old Post have really been trying to experience a little safer environment to live in right on the corner of Old Post Road there.
All right, thank you. I appreciate your time tonight, and your daughter's not only cute, but she's she loves you.
Are you cute?
Yeah.
Are you cute? All right, thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kevin, who else do we have? We have Michael Mart and another attendee to enter.
Yes, I'm going to let Tamari in now. I don't know if it's about this public safety, but we'll figure that out.
Again, these questions are limited at this point in time to public safety while we have Suffolk County Police and Chief Flute here. Their time is extremely valuable. Hi, Tamari,
Hello.
how are you?
Fine, thank you. I would ask the same that ask Paul, because it's like crazy speed that people make. And a few days ago, I was.
I'm sorry. Can
Yes.
we just have your name, first and last name, and address for the record, please?
Sure. Tamari, Tamari. Tamarashvili, Tamarashvili. I am living on a Hawthorne Street.
Could you repeat your address?
The house
Sure.
number, please?
Yes, 102 Hawthorne Street.
Okay. Thank you, Tamari.
So I was walking with the baby, and the car was coming so high with high speed, and they even didn't stop on a stop sign. So I was asking if it's something possible to do, like a speed bump or something that we can use for controlling it, because it's not the first time that we're seeing this.
Okay, we just responded to Paul's request for the same. Tomorrow we
Yeah.
have there's traffic calming initiatives we're going to try and implement in the spring when the warmer weather comes. Again, traffic tables or speed tables are probably not going to be the answer, but we will continue to look at the neighborhood and do what we can to help calm traffic there. It's a problem that we have throughout the village and Suffolk County, and it's not, I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but we really need, I guess, more enforcement and more ways of trying to keep our people safe. Those roads, I know those neighborhood roads are not exactly the widest of roads because that's an older neighborhood, the Poet section there. So just please try and stay safe. And I thank you for your coming tonight and visiting with us. Does anybody else want to come?
Margot,
Yes, Bruce?
just quickly, you say the roads are not the widest, and if the tables are a problem, narrowing of roads has been a traffic calming strategy. I'm wondering if that would help out.
I think it can help out, but I think with those streets, if you have two oncoming cars and you have somebody walking with a stroller, everybody's just got to slow down. But what I meant by that comment is there's not a lot of side area or curbing for them to be having the ability to walk with a stroller. So it's a more narrow street than some of the other typical village neighborhood streets. It's kind of in the line of maybe it's a one-way street. I don't know. We can look at the street directions up there because it's pretty much a grid up in the Poet section. That might be a way of looking at it. But then then you just have speed channels instead of two-way traffic that might help calm things down, right, Fred? I don't pretend to be a traffic engineer.
Yeah, I guess you could do that. And I thought initially when you said the narrowing of roads, you meant Old Post Road, because that is narrow and curvy and downhill, and that's a limitation for us to put stop signs. As the gentleman said, there's one street without a stop sign. I believe he said. I don't know.
The corner of Jefferson and Old Post, but again,
yeah, that's actually still on the hill. So to have a stop sign coming
the
upward.
purpose of it. Sorry, Chief. The purpose of a stop sign is not. The main purpose of a stop sign is not to calm traffic. It's for safety, so there's no collisions. Yeah. So we did put up these traffic stop signs in the neighborhood because we had the public hearing that goes along with that, and we'll consider everything we need to do. But again, is there anybody else from the neighborhood, or I have Michael Mart now with his hand raised? Michael?
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Good. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board. And I had a couple of questions regarding the meeting that you had with the meeting that you had regarding the transient housing. Mr. Harris, the deputy attorney, presented a pretty detailed code
So
change.
Michael, I just want to interrupt you for a second. I'm taking questions right now at the beginning because I have Chief here, Chief Lute, and Inspector Moeller from County. So I'm taking questions or comments that with respect to public safety right now.
Well, I understand that, but I and Myrna Gordon wrote a letter to you and the board suggesting that because the site of the official site of Port Jefferson says that at 7 o'clock we get to address the board, it's the only time we can address the board, that you would honor that in some way, not honor it, but allow it, because my time is important also. It's 7:25, and I just have a couple of things that I'd like to ask and then continue on with my evening.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it seemed to me that in your business meeting, you had all agreed that the transient housing, Airbnbs, whatever you want to call them, would be limited to 30 days. Is that correct?
Michael, we had a work session. I think the work session was made public so you could watch the contents and the conversation on YouTube. We
Right.
did not make any hard and fast decisions. They're continuing to work on the code and bring it to us for public hearing. So, I think it was a kind of a robust conversation. There was a lot of questions. There was a lot of trying to figure out what the purpose and the intent of it was. And I don't really, quite frankly, think we landed squarely on our feet anywhere. I mean, Brian, would that be a good summation of?
100%. I saw the video in detail today. I've had conversations with Rich and we continue to look at it. There are a lot of balances that have to go into that. I mean, I think everybody is of the impression that something needs to get done in a way. The question is now, how close do we close that door?
Right. I was able also to view that meeting. It wasn't live, but I had it recorded. And I really appreciated all the time that Mr. Harris and the board put into it. But at the end, I thought Mayor Margot said, how do we feel? Should we go 30 days? And it was quasi vote. So that's why I asked that question. But you're still working on a code regarding transient.
Oh, yes.
housing?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think, Michael, I think we were in Rebecca, I think we were looking at doing two things. I think we had to add more teeth to the rental permit section of our code,
Right.
section 205. I'm grasping at straws right now.
Mhm.
And then we were also going to revise the bed and breakfast section of the code to strengthen that, to offer another, so, and I think Rebecca sat again with Mr. Harris and Kathy Ann Snaden and
I was on the point.
on Friday, and they spent 2.5 more hours. This is not an easy section of code. It's a very, and basically what we're trying to do is not open doors, no pun intended. What we're
Mhm.
trying to do is sure that what we're doing is trying to make sure that we understand what is going on and we find ways to actually make that safe and ways that we can enforce it. I think that that's really what we're trying to wrap our heads around and come up with a code, maybe 2 sections of code that actually accomplish that.
I appreciate that. I'll look forward to seeing it when it's written. And if you have any, if you need any suggestions, I'm always available to provide them because it's still active in our neighborhood alone. So thank you again for allowing me to speak, and I can continue on with my meeting. I hope we can institutionalize that. I don't get paid to be here. It's time consuming. I will record it and listen to you when I have an opportunity to get your reports. I appreciate them very much. Thank you.
Hey, Michael, thank you for your time. I appreciate that. Is there anybody else who has a comment for public safety while we have
Yes.
Officer Miller?
Anna is in, and she has a question related to California Avenue.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for helping me to address some. I was one of the people who organized the petition requested for the traffic comment on the California Avenue. And I just, as a part of that unexpected work, I keep in touch with most of the people who have both attended the meeting and have signed the petition. And I appreciate all the effort that the chief and the officer from the 6th precinct have put into this, and the fact that we do have signs, as I've mentioned on the last meeting. The feedback that I keep getting is that although the things have improved, there is quite a significant number of cars, significantly more than what the chief have quoted, about 10-15 cars that you've recorded that have sped through the stop signs. So the question I have is that we've been working with the town since July on this issue, and we've been promised that there will be another plan because the speed bumps would not be an option. So when can we expect to have a plan for us to consider? And the second one is it possible for me and my fellow neighbors to start engaging with the police department and with the fire department on the conversation about the speed bumps? Because the dog walkers and quite a lot of families with children still remain concerned. And all we need is just a few cars that an inevitable tragedy would
So
occur.
Anna, you can engage with Suffolk County. In fact, there's a meeting at the 6th precinct once a month, and tomorrow, Officer Muller's at 10 o'clock in the morning or 6 p.m., I forget.
10 in the morning, they said.
Yeah, sorry, 10 in the morning. You can go down to the 6th precinct. It's an open forum for any, all the community of the 6th precinct to interface directly, bring your concerns, but that's not the only time that you can do that. We can certainly give you contact information at Village Hall for our COPE officers that you can speak to. So you can always engage with Suffolk County Police. We are not the gate there. It's completely distinct.
No, I was in touch with the police department. The representative Carl Hun already wrote on our behalf requesting for more concerns. So that's not necessarily the question that I'm asking. What I'm asking is the village has promised that there will be a traffic calming plan that would not involve speed bumps. So what I'm asking is, when can we expect from the village a plan for traffic calming? Because it's been 2 months since the public hearing where you, unfortunately, you, Mayor, have been unfortunate enough not to be part of that meeting. But the rest of the trustees saw that it is quite a significant public concern. A lot of people showed up to express their concerns. So the questions that I'm being asked as I talk to the neighbors is then, when would the village expect to present a plan to provide traffic calming, given that we all know the stop signs were not designed for traffic calming?
Well, again, we would have to engage an engineer to look specifically at your area. I think, Joe, we spoke to one of the engineers. They gave us, a proposal in I think it was over $10,000 to look at that specific area and come up with some options. This is a very hot topic and I have to be very concerned. If I do it for one neighborhood, I'm doing it for the entire village. And these are very expensive propositions. And, controlling the speed at which cars are driving is not necessarily in the jurisdiction of the village of Port Jefferson. I understand keeping streets safe is something that we can help to do. But it's a sidewalks, narrowing streets. There's a lot of different ways that we can look at, driving. It's just, one simple solution. And by the way, I think you had also mentioned reaching out to the fire department. Have you reached out to the fire department?
I have spoken to Trustee Caffeine on email and in person several times, saying that, is this the time to do that? Because I also don't want to just call out out of nowhere asking for the engagement. I would like to work with the village in figuring out a coherent plan. So I'm not just a single individual who is demanding that kind of response. So the response that I've been given so far is that the village is working on a plan and I should stand by before I would engage with them. So I would like to respect the jurisdiction of the village, and that's why I'm asking, what could we do? And I fully appreciate that it's an incredibly significant and systemic issue. And how can we work together as both residents of the village and you as the government of the village that we elected and we trusted that you would address our concerns in figuring out a way to get safer village? Because as you said, California Avenue is just one of the streets that has that concern.
Anna, you never stated your address. Could you do that now?
Yes, it's 102 Hawthorne Street.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm gonna have to get back to you because I have not specifically sat with the traffic engineer and looked at your specific streets. Kathy Ann, is not present with us tonight. She does head up the Public Safety Bureau and Committee of the village. I do know that we had sat with a traffic engineer and we had discussed several locations, with your location being one of the several locations to go and look at the street and give us some suggestions. We have not yet engaged that engineer. I can discuss with the board looking at the proposal specifically for your street in terms of, engaging that engineer to come up with solutions and perhaps, but what, if it's going to exceed, the overall general budget, perhaps your community, if it's important enough to your community, they would agree to a special assessment in your neighborhood to help pay for these, traffic calming, opportunities, because I don't know specifically what specific, improvement would be implemented on your street. Again, I'm not a traffic engineer,
Right.
but that's.
I would
Let me
appreciate that.
And you just finish my statement. Then that way your community can then make a decision about whether or not it wants to help pay for that improvement above and beyond just the general budget. Because it's not that we're not saying we don't want to help. It's saying we have to figure out how to get that done. What is the best means? Where is the best place for that means to happen? And because it is systemic, I think that maybe a certain protocol has to be established wherein, groups of, residents in particular neighborhoods know what's involved in having that done in their neighborhood. So let me just ask Joe, did we have LKM look at, was Old Post Road one of the areas that we gave them to look at?
Yes.
Okay,
California
so
Hawthorne, sheep pasture, and one other.
okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up with Kathy Ann and Joe, and Anna, they'll get back to you. And maybe what you can do is have 3 or 4 members of your committee or your community, come and sit with them and review that proposal, and we go from there. But it's not going to, it's not going to happen in a month. It's not going to maybe happen in 2 months. It's something that is going to continue to be developed because that's how things happen in government. It's not a silver bullet. It doesn't happen overnight.
We're not expecting a silver bullet. We're expecting to get exactly that kind of propositions where we would then able to take them to the to our neighbors and have a constructive conversation. Because at the moment the conversation goes, have you heard anything? No, we haven't heard. We've been told that there will be a study. Do you know when the study will be? No, we don't. And then it starts to feed into the sense that the government is not there for us and it's not our government. And I don't believe that that is the case. That's why I'm here and I'm bringing those concerns to you.
And I appreciate that. And I want to let you folks know that since you brought this concern to us, we've had a public hearing, we've installed stop signs. I have my code officer sitting out there taking statistics. We've made extra requests for Suffolk to be there doing their job. No offense, Officer Mueller, to enforce the speeding that is going on everywhere. And in the meantime, we sat with an engineer. We'll get back to you. And we'll put it to work, and we'll let the people decide.
Thank you. I will report exactly that to the neighborhood so that they know that that is the process. Thank you.
And by the way, they can take some time during the day to watch the meeting so that you are, you look like a great community leader, but they can also participate and listen to the YouTube. That's why we're taping these things and putting them on so they can listen to them at any time of day. So I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing for your community. And trust me, we're going to try and help keep your community safe.
Thank you so much.
Do we have anybody else?
Maybe just ask Mr. Pollock if his comments are related to public safety. He's coming in now. Where did the mayor go? Don, are you there? Okay, at this point, I don't see Don and I don't see the mayor. Barbara, do you hear me?
I'm texting her right now.
Okay. Could have been a battery issue or something. Don, it's Kevin Wood. I'm just seeing if you had something related to public safety.
Yes, it is public safety. Can you hear me now?
I can. We're waiting for the mayor to return to the meeting, but if you have a question for Chief, Lute or SCPD, please go ahead.
Yes, Suffolk County Police. I want to bring up a problem which I've been voicing opinions about, okay, for more years than I would like to state. Okay, the intersection of North Country Road, Edgewood, and Columbia. Continuously, people go through the red light. All right. In the past, you've put a marked car, you've put a regular police cruiser there, and everybody sees it, and everybody pays attention to the light. It turns red, and everybody stops. All right, in each and every direction. Almost all of the red lights, okay, that are being gone through is east and west, okay, on North Country Road. If you could put a unmarked car there, you would be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. I have never seen an unmarked car there, and I haven't seen a marked car there paying any attention to it either. Right? Is there anything that can finally be done about this?
Well, first of all, sir, thank you for bringing this to our. It's difficult at times to allocate a marked vehicle to any specific area. I don't know if you're all aware, but the 6th precinct handles the most amount of calls out of all 7 precincts. Any given day, the sector cars are answering anywhere from 7 to 10 911 calls. That may not seem like a big number. However, on an 8-hour day, that consumes a lot of the time of the officers, and it keeps them from answering to some of these concerns about stop signs, speeding, and things like that. I will bring it to the attention to the inspector, and we will add it as well to a patrol check if he hasn't in the past, and also communicate this with the community support unit for them to perhaps spend some time in that location in an unmarked vehicle to keep these people from, disregarding a red light or even speeding.
Well, thank you very much, right? But like I said, I hope this time they can see something that's been going on for way too long.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not actually sure what happened to my computer, but I got blown out of Zoom. I apologize. Mr. Miller, you have your mute on.
Trustee Miller, please take your microphone on, put your microphone on. There you go.
Sorry. Oh, just to support Mr. Pollock there, this is something that he has suggested, he's been asking for years, and they've never really come up with an unmarked car, and everybody apparently stops when there is a marked car present. So, if he could just ask whoever dispatches to the area, if they would just, not consider this a new issue. This is kind of a long-standing issue. And the fact that Mr. Pollock has suggested in the past that when you give a few tickets out, the word gets out, and you get a lot of calming for a little effort. So it's not like you have to catch every car every time. Catching a few is going to provide a lot of relief to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Are there any other questions from participants for public safety this evening, please?
No hands are up at this time, Mayor.
Okay, Officer Moeller, thank you so much for your time. I know your time is important, and I appreciate your being here with this community, and I look forward to any report I can get back from the 6th precinct meeting, any report you can give back to me about, more patrols out in these neighborhoods we're discussing here tonight would be greatly appreciated. Thank you to Inspector Riley for me.
Yep, I have some ideas in mind. If those ideas come to fruition, I will definitely let you know, ma'am. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Chief, you good too as well?
I'm
You can
sorry.
stay on if you want. I said you can stay on if you want, but we're going to migrate it into trustees
I will
reports.
stay on and monitor for you, sure, if someone else has a question. Absolutely.
Okay. And, my iPad is waning. I'm at 47%, and I wanted to share a presentation that I did on the bluff. So, Rebecca, I'm gonna go to trustee reports, but I'm hoping that we can keep it moving along. I'm gonna go to Stan first, Rebecca second, and hopefully I have enough power in my computer to share my presentation that I did. Stan? You're on mute.
How are we doing now?
Good.
Better.
Okay. A couple of real quick reports here from the Recreation Department. The summer camp registration has opened. We opened the first of this month. We already have 36 residents signed up, and we have room for 130 for our summer camps. We're going to hold this registration open for village residents only up until May 1st. On May 1st, if we've not filled the camps at that date, we're going to open the registration to the non-resident. We have these new programs in pickleball. They've been extremely popular, and we've not been able to accommodate the number of people that have expressed interest in this sport. We're presently limited to the Spring Street School and are looking for more locations. Two of which are, we've asked the school district about their tennis courts, and we're also exploring the possibility of using the basketball court at Rocket Ship Park. In both cases, these would be temporary solutions. We'd be using portable nets and lines. Again, they'd be temporary, and they cannot happen, of course, until the weather permits. So I know that there's a big waiting list now for people with the pickleball, but right now all we have is the Spring Street School. We have 30 programs that are listed at the Village Center and the Recreation Department. A list too big to go into. For a complete listing, please go to our website at portjeff.com. You click on Recreation if you're interested in any of these programs. A couple of important announcements from the Country Club. Registration for golf memberships this year so far is very active. We've already signed up over 400 members as of last Friday. I want to remind those that have not signed up yet that the rates will be increasing next month. And if you have not received a new application, visit the membership office Tuesday through Friday from 9 to 4 or Saturday morning from 9 to 12:30. For those members that have signed up, you can start picking up your minimum gift cards on March 8th. These gift cards are good for food and beverages at Danforth's, at the club, and of course at the Turn, which will open the first day of the golf season, which is now scheduled for April 1st. Unless we get good weather, we will open early. And one further important announcement to the membership, the White Book, which is our Bible, has been totally rewritten. We brought it up to date with no brand new information for members. It's going to soon be posted on our website, and it's recommended reading for all of our members. It's full of important goodies. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Stan. I'll move over to Trustee Miller. And Bruce, you're on mute.
Okay. So just reporting, we have an appointment, Mayor Garant and myself, on the 17th of February, I believe, regarding the hydrogen hub, and this is with National Grid. Apparently the hydrogen hub is an $8 billion award for hydrogen. Specifics, I don't have anything on that yet. Perhaps we'll find that out on the 17th. But there will be 4 sites in the United States, and New York is competing for them. And so possibly National Grid is competing for part of New York. I don't know. We'll possibly get some more information on that. Hydrogen is important in a green future. It is essential, according to the governor of the state of California. Also, Today, in the meeting with President Biden, Olaf Scholz, Chancellor of Germany, has also stated that this is the case. As I had mentioned at the last meeting, I have been trying to talk to Tony LaRusso, who is the Director of Strategic Development and Partnerships for National Grid. And we had some very positive conversations in which I emphasized that Port Jefferson was a welcoming community. And so I also recommended a number of people for a committee that he would want to speak with on a Zoom that would be positive towards Port Jefferson, obviously including Mayor Garant, myself, Long Island Railroad President Phil Ing. There is a significant interest in hydrogen, which would not require third rails, et cetera, nationally. Assemblyman Engelbright has been asked, the legislator Kara Hahn, who is our local Suffolk legislator, Bridget Fleming, I also recommended, who is the power issues legislator for Suffolk County, and Fred Thiel, assemblyman from the East End. Also, I guess their suggestion was Todd Comiskey. Again, out there, PSEG is offering discounts if you sign up, 10% reduction in the cost of electricity. They're going to be using gray hydrogen. Just in terms of touching base, I had a conversation with Vinnie Frigeria from PSEG, just a friendly conversation to maintain positive relations. Regarding Lawrence Aviation, they're apparently getting closer to doing something, Suffolk County. The federal government has charge of this at this point, but they want to put up 40 acres of solar on that property, which would be adjacent, obviously, to Port Jefferson. And so that's my report, essentially.
Thank you, Bruce. So we'll follow up after the meeting with National Grid on the 17th and update the community.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Rebecca, Trustee Cassay.
Thank you. All right, I'll start by reporting that the 6-acre park committee, I'm the chair and have been trying to get information out to the community that our meetings are now available on YouTube, either to watch live while they're going on or in perpetuity after they're recorded. The next meeting will be on Monday, February 28th at 6:30 for viewing. And as always, the public input means, method right now is to email me at trustee-cassay@portjeff.com. You can find that on the email address on portjeff.com, and send any comments that you wish for the committee to review, and they will be reviewed at each meeting. So next we have a group of residents who are working on an Arbor Day effort, trying to re-tree Port Jefferson a bit. We have so far connected with the elementary school as well as the Port Jefferson Country Club to work on these re-treeing efforts for Port Jeff. So stay tuned for more of that. We're looking at bringing white spruces and red oaks in this year, and hopefully in subsequent years, other species of trees to get more green in our village, both for our aesthetics, our property values, and of course the ecosystem. The planning board will be have a virtual public hearing this Thursday, February 10th at 6 p.m. This is for Mather North Wells Master Plan. Some highlights of that plan include a new large parking lot for which the Zoning Board of Appeals gave the planning board the discretion to exceed the 65% clearing limit. And other, they're working on their emergency department, other aesthetic issues to review there. So anyone interested in that, please tune in, and you can participate in that meeting with public comment, or if you can't make the meeting, email the building department with your comment prior to. For the short-term rentals, like we noted earlier, the January work session is available for public viewing on Port Jefferson Village's YouTube page. There are these drafts in progress that I'm working on with our village attorneys so that we can present them to the board, and we are currently aiming for an April first meeting of the month public hearing for those drafts, and we'll have more information as they come out. On Sunday, March 6th at 2 p.m., we will have the grand opening for the new show at Village Center, celebrating women's suffrage and the timeless collection of Nan Gazetta. We're very, very excited about this show. We're going to be trying to highlight both our suffragettes from over 100 years ago, how that affects our lives today, looking at these costume collections of the late, great Nan Gazetta. And at the opening, we're planning some fun things. There will be sashes that women can wear with the Votes for Women. We're going to try to have a little selfie with a suffragette, one person in costume, and have that interactive portion. And again, just trying to collect these memoirs of the past, but also how those women's efforts affected our lives today. And that is all I have to report today.
Thank you, Rebecca. Great report, and I love the suffragette display as part of the women, marches, Women's History Month, and all that. It's great. It's fantastic. The poster you guys put together. I think the event is going to be important for the community, and of course, in honor of Nan, who gave so much to us. And so I appreciate your efforts there. Kathy Ann cannot be with us this evening. She is attending her daughter's play at the middle school level. I guess it was adjourned because of the ice storm on Friday. And so I hope that Catherine is not breaking her leg. It's important. But she wants to thank the Business Improvement District and all the committee that worked on the third annual Ice Festival, and the Chamber of Commerce for the Mac and Cheese Crawl. Very successful event this weekend in the village of Port Jefferson, bringing a lot of families out to the village. It was nice to see everybody in good spirits. I want to thank our Code Enforcement Bureau for their help, Parks Department for decorating the lanterns all blue and bringing the snowflakes down and keeping us bright and cheery in this dismal month of February. It was very successful. Again, we're very pleased, and we hope that our merchants down in Port and in Upper Port had successful weekends. She also wants me to report that parking, the meters remain suspended until April 1st. For the people who are renters here in the village, your parking permits are due. You are getting warnings on your windshield, but that's an annual parking pass, so you need to go up to the website and renew your pass, or come to Village Hall and get your pass updated. The Architectural Review Committee met and submitted some comments on the Mather Hospital expansion plans. So the Architectural Review Committee is active and meeting. And as far as public safety, just a reminder from Kathy Ann to lock your vehicles, and because as Chief did report at the beginning, at the top of the meeting, that we've had a lot of characters going up and down driveways trying to open up your cars. Lock it or lose it, as Officer Mueller had indicated. I spent a lot of time this weekend putting together a presentation, which I'd like to share with you folks now. It's pretty much the status of the East Beach Bluff stabilization projects. It's almost like roast goof. You don't want to say it. And where we're at with this overwhelming project. And this presentation, as well as the bid documents, will be posted up to the website. It's an ongoing project. We're still collecting data, but I'd like to just share my screen with you. And before my computer crashes, let's see how I do this again. Let's see if I do this. Was that it? Yes, that was it. And if hopefully everybody can see the screen. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So thanks, because I can't see you guys anymore, so I can only see Rebecca's head nodding up and down. So this picture is a very telling picture. The East Beach restoration projects, we've been working since 2009 when I first took office on various stages of beach restoration. This image was taken with a drone I believe it was around midsummer. If you zoom in, you could actually see that there are people playing tennis and on a very precarious, close tennis court to the edge. But that is that even that perspective has changed in the last 6 or 7 months. We have been working with GEI as a coastal engineering firm. We've been engaged with GEI on various levels of projects since 2010. It's been a very long marriage. It's expensive to work with these coastal engineers, but they're necessary when restoring shorelines because all of these improvements require permits from the DEC. We started with our East Beach seawall back in 2010, took 5 years to complete the wall. And as I do have some general bullets here and I have some visuals, which I'll scroll through and show you the timeline. But basically this slide just shows that it's been an ongoing concern from 2010 to present with various stages of restoration to our beaches, the sand and protective measures over the last 10 plus years. Of course, we started back in 2009 and 2010 with a nor'easter that took place in the fall of 2009. And then we had Hurricanes Irene and Sandy that completely devastated and destroyed our East Beach as we used to know it when we grew up here in this community. We lost the cul-de-sac at the end of the drive and we almost lost the entire beach. We lost the retaining walls, the stairwells. We could not gain access to our beach for a number of years. And it took us many years and working with the DEC and the coastal engineering firms and $2.7 million to build the seawall that exists now to protect that shoreline. It's a beautiful wall. It's Stephen Engelbright, who's a geologist and one of our longest standing state senators, said it was the best seawall he'd seen on the North Shore. And it had to be built right to protect the parking lot, because without the parking lot, we would have absolutely zero access to our lovely East Beach. Shortly after the restoration of East Beach, we had ongoing concerns on both the East End and the West End. On the West End, you'll see up in the left corner in 2017, we had to extend the seawall and actually then build a concrete ramp so that we could have access to the beach. The beach at that end, there's a groin there, so to speak, and the beach sand continued to be scoured out so that there was a tremendous drop between the parking lot and the actual beach. So that concrete ramp had to be built, again, with a permit from DEC, more steel and rock revetment wall to protect that and to continue to give us access on the west side. Shortly thereafter, on the east side, you'll see the bottom picture on the right. The east end was completely destroyed as we know it. We used to have a little swing set there. You can still see that in the picture. But the storm came up, the high tides came up and over the seawall into the parking lot. And the only thing that we were able to preserve there was that gazebo, which still stands, but there was a tremendous amount of steel wall and rock revetment that had to be done on the east end. And those projects were from 2017 to 2019, both requiring DEC permit modifications. Of course, the big project that we started working with the town and the county on and the state was the repair of the jetty. The lower picture shows you the jetty as it stood from 2009 to just about 18 months ago. That jetty was breached, which means that the water was overflowing the jetty and taking all our sand and pouring the sand into the throat of Mount Sinai Harbor. The map above, all that gray area looks like kind of like a whale fish there. That shows you all the land, all of the beach that we lost as a result of the scouring of our beach and loss of sand. And you'll see the jetty wall was as proposed by the Army Corps of Engineers and the people who did this plan to restore the beach. That plan up there is from a document, I believe it's dated from 2010, when we first encouraged or did a study on what the impacts of the jetty on Port Jefferson Beach was. You'll see that this year, after the jetty was repaired, we finally got the sand dredged from Mount Sinai Harbor and replaced back on our beach. It was over 80,000, closer to 90,000 cubic yards of sand. After the jetty was repaired, Mount Sinai Harbor was dredged and our sand was replenished. And again, that only happened, I believe it was 2021, early spring of 2021. And we were very, very thankful to get all this renourishment of our sand back. having been displaced down the East Coast. And as sand is kind of scoured out with the tidal flow and everything else, it goes from west to east. And so we're very happy to get our sand back. The jetty and the sand restoration were paid for by the state and the county and the town. No taxpayer dollars were involved in restoring that. The other project that took place in the spring of 2021 was the rebuilding of the retaining wall. You can see the top left picture is the retaining wall as it existed, bowed out, broken, rotted out. And basically, I think we got there just in a nick of time to repair that wall coming down East Beach Hill from the start of the hill all the way down till you get down to the beach. This is a project that Village had to pay for. It was upwards of $400,000, and it was paid by the taxpayers through a bond anticipation note that the Village had to take out, and I think 2020 to get that project done. This is where we're at, folks. The bluff as we know it, I'm going to describe this as phase one. You'll see at the very top of the image, right above the word phase, you'll see that concrete ramp coming down from the entry of the East Beach parking area. You'll see the beach, the width of the beach is diminishing, and you'll see that the bluff in its entirety, that's about 700 linear feet that you're looking at of bluff line, is being completely devastated, scoured out, and eroding. It's a very dangerous situation at this point. This has happened very aggressively, I think more so since 2017 to the present. I show this picture from 2017 again, because you'll see that there's a lot of vegetation on the hill. There's no real concern at that time for that level of erosion. You'll see the bottom left-hand corner was taken in September of 19. You can see what we call a king tide or a high tide rising, where the high tide comes in just to the bottom of that bluff now. And as a result of the pounding of the waves, we've lost a tremendous amount of vegetation. And the picture to the right with the rail at the bottom is taken from earlier. I believe that was the midsummer. I think Rebecca, you and I and Barbara were down at the beach that day, and that's from the early summer of 2021. And you can see now the tree line is lost completely on the bluff line. And we have massive erosion going on, undermining the entire length of the bluff. I'm going to go back to this slide for a minute, because we also talk about deforestation. When you have trees planted on the bluff line, the root systems lose strength. And, there's a lot of reasons for that. But, in revegetating a bluff, the tree is the last thing you want to plant. You want to get some grassing and other softer materials to take root. We had more impacts this summer to this issue. If you look at that storm system in the bottom, that was a rainstorm that we suffered during this summer months. You can see the tremendous impact of rain there. And I watched that storm hover around Port Jefferson for 5 hours, and that little black dot is Port Jeff, and that storm just swirled around us and it did a tremendous amount of damage. We're losing assets at the top of the hill. This is where the marriage ceremonies used to take place for the country club facilities. That whole entire area is now fenced off. The picture to the right shows the very top. You can see a little white pipe coming out of the top of the hill. That's now an irrigation pipe. I think that's part of this gazebo system, but you can see there's a line of hill that's being now scoured out. This undermining of the bluff is going to have provides tremendous instability to the top of the hill. This is an aerial. It shows you the assets of the country club building facility and the tennis courts as they currently exist, and the tremendous scouring of the hill. And this has, again, gone at a tremendous speed over the last 2-3 years. A lot of things happening with the loss of vegetation on the hill. It becomes more unstable, and with the heavy rainstorms, the scouring, it just takes down 5-6 feet of hill and tree at a time. You'll see where I point the arrow. You'll see this is what I'm going to describe as that groin again. You have the concrete ramp is just cut off, but you'll see how much this undermining and the scouring of the hill is very closely getting to impact the roadway. unfortunately, I did this presentation. I wish I could provide a better aerial, but I point your attention there because, you know, we lose access to our beach road, we lose access to our beach. And so I just wanted to, you know, this picture of the aerial is very telling of how closely all of our assets are to the top of the bluff. This slide shows the plan that has been submitted to DEC. We submitted plans back in 2016, had many visits on site with the coastal engineers, DEC. We went back and forth with DEC, modifying our plans. The arrow to the far left, we originally requested for the rock revetment and steel to come all the way down. And that point would be just beyond the 4 tennis courts. You'll see this big square box directly on, you know, to the south of the arrow that represents the courts 1 through 4. We were denied that request. I believe that happened back in 2019. We modified the plans and the DEC approved the steel revetment wall to come just to the edge of the building. You'll see that second arrow where it says approved. The third arrow, again, I bring you back to that groin or where the concrete ramp is and the roadway. That entire area needs to be, the steel wall and the rock revetment needs to be now tied back to the bluff, and that area, that groin, completely reinforced and built back at this point in time before we lose any more material which impacts the road. We finally got our DEC permit this past June, and then we had to wait for the Army Corps to issue their permit, which only happened this past September. So part of the problem that we've had is while we're working with the coastal engineers and the state agencies, you know, we keep losing material. We're playing beat the clock here. And at this point, you know, this project as approved was placed out to bid. Just wanted to focus in a little bit more on the steel wall. The steel wall goes 454 linear feet. There will be stone in front, which is known as a splash wall. The steel wall will be pounded in behind that and reinforced into concrete. And that creates a brand new strengthened toe wall where we can then vegetate the hill. I'm going to go back a slide. You'll see the hard line is the steel. And as you come up the topography, all of that's going to be replanted. It's a lot of square footage to replant the entire bluff line. I'll scroll now forward a little bit. You can see the plan calls for a significant amount of what we call core logs, which will pin down the terracing of the bluff. There are erosion blankets included in the bidding. There's wood terracing, soil anchors, and tens of thousands of native plants, including many woody plants, beech and switch grasses, things that are soft, that the roots take place to help stabilize the soil and the sand that is there. And these are all native plants recommended by the coastal engineer. And they would help. We've also, interestingly enough, met with some engineers at the State University of Stony Brook, and they apparently have this new product where it's kind of like when they spray green and the grass grows faster. It's a product that will help these plantings take faster and quicker root to help stabilize this bluff. The picture to the right I actually took from a Facebook posting. Some of the local residents in Belterre are actually getting permits to stabilize their bluff line, and that's a picture of a private property in Belterre. Ours will look a little bit better than that, but that's gives you an idea of how that terracing will look. The project was put out to bid. We had 12, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we had approximately 12 bidders, which is a good number of participants in the bidding process, placing bids that range from 4.8 million to 6.2 million. The breakout of the cost factors, of course, of the rock, the steel, the planting is a significant portion of the cost. The mobilization of the heavy artillery that's needed to bring in those materials, and 3 or 4 months of labor to accomplish the job. This job at a $5 million cost would in a bond that's borrowed over 15 years at the present interest rate would be an increase of approximately $340,000 to the budget, which to an average household who pays approximately $1,400 in village taxes, that would be an increase of approximately $147 to the household. And that is if we do nothing other than sit back and borrow a bond and expect everybody to pay for it. We are doing a lot of things to mitigate costs. I'll go through those on a future slide here. One of the things we can do is ask for legislative relief to push out the debt service. I'm not a fan of borrowing money, and I'm not a fan of pushing out debt service, but this is a very costly project, probably the most expensive project that any sole municipality, village in Suffolk County has had to bear the brunt of, looking to stabilize this amount of hill. So that's the phase one. Phase two concerns how are we going to then make sure that we save the assets that are upland. You know, because getting the tow line and stabilization permits took so long, we lost so much more material at the top that there is a concern that now our building facility is approximately, the deck is approximately 30 feet from the bluff line. You can see the gazebo. I don't think the gazebo is even there anymore, but there's a hedge line, and you're getting very, very close to that bluff. Of course, we've canceled the tennis season for the oncoming year for obvious reasons. This picture is alarming, to say the least. So there's been a lot of talk about moving recreational facilities back. But again, I zoom in on the facility because right now the primary objective in phase two would be an effort to, well, let me move to the next slide. It shows, I believe, put a steel wall in behind that facility, pound it into the ground, and you'll see then the lower wall and the upper wall will then sort of pin each other back and prevent any further possibility of that building sliding down the hill. On the left-hand side, you'll see there's a red arrow that is a potential addendum or add-on to extending the steel wall if we feel we have to preserve assets to the left of our country club facility or to the west. And I think in actually some of the approved plans, the steel wall to the left actually also can extend, but you know, how much money can we really spend here? These plans are still in process. They are not finalized. We are still, of course, waiting for that survey to be completed to the west of the country club facility and the upland survey, so that we can look at the topography to the west of courts 1 through 4 and explore all the drainage opportunities to help take the stormwater runoff from the upland and hopefully contain it somehow before it runs over the edge and continues that drastic scouring that we saw in some of the earlier images. As we've been discussing, there are some options to pull back some of our amenities as they exist, reconfigure tennis courts, abandon some tennis courts, introduce pickleball courts. The main objective is to pull everything away from the edge of the cliff. And again, this is part 2, and which is still under discussion and still yet to be determined because we don't have all the information we need to advance any kind of plan for the upland portion of phase 2 of the stability project. Basically, our status is on phase 1. We have gone out to bid. We would like to award that bid. The Board of Trustees will probably advance this to vote on a $5 million bond or so. The most reasonable bidder has been, we have been in contact with that contractor. He is holding that steel and the price of steel for us till the end of February. If we lose that bid and that material, which usually there's a 3-month lead on the steel of this type, we'll have to probably put the entire bluff stabilization phase 1 project back out to rebid. Phase 2, as I said, we're waiting for some of the upland surveys, drainage plans. We're looking for a firm cost estimate for a phase 2 endeavor. I believe our administrator was out in the field meeting with the demolition company today, giving us a number on, you know, what it might cost if we decide not to do a phase 2 and instead to demo our building in years to come and reconfigure assets on the upland side. We are also making applications and are in full discussion with our representatives, both at Senator Schumer's office. I'm engaging Engelbright. We were supposed to speak last week. We're speaking next week or this week, Thursday, I think. But we are in full conversation with the folks from FEMA for funds for hazard mitigation programs. There's millions of dollars out there. They believe our project is a perfect candidate for hazard mitigation to preserve a very significant village asset. What we're unclear of at this time is the timing. If we award the bid and we advance the project, are we still then eligible for a grant? Because usually with the other granting agencies that we've worked with, you have to be awarded the grant and then you sign the contract and then you get the numbers. Either way, we have to do the project and then you get reimbursed. That's how we've had to work all of our major capital projects, whether there's granting funds available or not. We have a very severe erosion issue, folks. It is not letting up. This is a picture taken by Trustee Laux, I want to say about 2 months ago, maybe. It shows that obviously we were very, very fortunate to get that one last season out of our tennis membership. But you'll see that that full length of fence, which, and the lighting is all now taken down. We have a very severe erosion problem, folks. It's not going to go away. It's going to continue. And at the rate that it has gone in the last 3 years, we may be looking at losing, a lot more than what we have lost and the next few months at the rate that Mother Nature is going. So I wanted to share a little bit of the progress of where we are in the storyline. I think the board knows, I've been sharing this with them. We had a work session on it. I'm very up in the air. I think we were contemplating waiting for phase 2 to come in and put the package together. At this point in time, folks, I'm really concerned about, if we don't do our tow line, we're going to be in real serious trouble a lot quicker than we anticipated. So with that, I kind of want to stop sharing my screen because it's kind of scary and open it up for conversation to the board or general public for people to weigh in. And I always have silence at this point. I love it. Brian, what did you think of that?
I mean, it's Mother Nature at its worst, right? It's quite a compelling presentation on the balance of preserving the asset and how it's squarely falling on the shoulders of the smallest level of government, being the village. It's almost unfathomable that it's our asset that it's happening to, and we're responsible for it. But I do hope that, and I keep my fingers crossed that there's going to be federal and at least federal money, maybe state money from Albany as they're having good budget times. But hopefully Senator Schumer's office will get back to us. And that sounded positive, the conversation and dialogue that Joe and I were having via text and email with their office, and you, Mayor, as well, on, with them on some of the possibility for grants. So that would be great. But the time to act is definitely now.
Yeah, I think, I want to assure everybody that I've been having really good work sessions with Denise and Joe and Barbara, looking at the budget and really taking out my pencil and sharpening it. I am committed to not allowing the full burden. We're just not going to sit back and raise everybody's taxes. That's not been my style. That's not how I've done things in my 13 years. But I feel very strongly that this tow line needs to be addressed. Stan, what are you thinking? You're on mute.
I have a lot of thoughts about this. I'm not 100% sold on the idea of going ahead with that tow line right now. We're talking about $5 and maybe up to $10 million when we get done with the upper portion. And with that estimate that came in on demo, maybe we're going in the wrong direction.
Well, tell me a different direction.
Well,
because I mean, I hear a lot, I hear a lot of people saying, let's build a pool, let's,
Yeah, I
you know,
know,
but
I know. Maybe,
I-
maybe we need to get a complete picture. What is it going to cost us if we, let's say, maybe we have 4 or 5 years left for that building. I don't know. Nobody knows if we don't put a tow line in. And in the meantime, we go further away from the bluff with our facility. Perhaps rebuild. I think we can rebuild the entire complex for less than 10 million, quite a bit less than 10 million.
Right, but you're still waiting for because what's happening is, as you know, it used to look like this and now it looks like this and it's gonna look like that. And at some point, when
At
are
some
you
point-
putting good dollars after bad dollars, So, listen, I'm getting us to a point of trying to help us reach a point of making a decision, or no decision. Bruce, you had your hand up?
Yeah, Stan just suggested we could rebuild for less than 10 million. Now, so I'm a little unclear on some of these figures. The problem is you got costs going in and coming out. In other words, it's not just rebuilding something, you got to take something else down. And that's an expensive proposition too. Are we still in the ballpark, or does that take us farther out?
So Joe, in the earlier meeting, I guess you were having trouble logging in. Joe did meet with a demo company. We had one demo estimate come in for the main facility. He hasn't had a chance to really review it. It came in late in the day, but the number is in the low $900,000 to just demolish the building.
And
The poor Jeff.
Well, let me just try it out of the box concept here. Does that number get to be less if we bring the fire department out and just burn it down and then pay to have any structural steel removed? I'm serious about it. I mean, you're looking at a lot of money when you get people paying to do this kind of stuff. It's expensive.
Yeah, you just can't have the fire come out and burn down a building. Could be asbestos, there's electric, there's.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be some asbestos remediation that has to be done. So
But
that has to be done in a specific way.
So if
Listen.
I'm familiar with asbestos remediation. We did it with the school district and it's not cheap. You're talking about adding on to the cost of just taking stuff apart, bringing in specialists certified in moon suits, and that raises the number a lot.
Listen, so it's been no mystery that for the last 5 years, we've been talking about this. We've been waiting for the DEC permits. I've been working with GEI. So nobody else has another plan. Nobody's coming to the table with a real plan that says, because time is not on our side right now.
Well,
Folks.
I compliment you for all the work you put into this, and it's serious work that you've done, and it's a serious proposal.
No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying, Bruce. I'm just, I know it's a lot of money. I mean, when the bids go out, we all have sticker shock. But yeah, Rebecca, you want to comment?
I think the work that's been done to this point has been very necessary for us as a village to get to see what are those numbers, what are the possibilities, what's allowable by the DEC, what does the public want. I guess my first question is, we had discussed at the work session that if this would be put out to a public vote, or is this something the Board of Trustees are voting on?
So if we still are in consensus that we are going to put the whole package together and go and rebid it and bring this to the public for the June election, that is the avenue I will continue to go. Okay. But when I just want to preface this, because I think that there are other ways that I haven't been able to develop yet, because we don't have a tennis season. We have said that the Port Jeff tennis programs were not really vital to the operations of the country club. So perhaps the village takes those back and we use that revenue to help pay for a phase 2 project if it comes. But it's kind of you're either helping find ways to figure out how we pay for this. And at $147 a household, honestly, right now, I'll pay $147 a year to help, maintain that bluff line. So at least we have something that we can start from to preserve upland. Because I don't think if you don't get that tow line built, you're just going to have a continuous erosion issue upland that you're not going to be able to control. And so the conversation about, how far back do we build, or what, you're just going to keep having that conversation. The building, you're probably going to be at the edge of that bluff line and in DEC territory then within the next year. And we're probably going to need permits to get that steel wall behind the upland building. And that's been part of the problem, is the time it takes us to get these permits in place. So, I think, I don't know. It's not an easy place to come to. By the way, we're not taking any kind of votes tonight or anything like that, but I just wanted to give you updates on the information. And again, I think, go ahead.
In looking at, researching what other communities on Long Island and the Northeast have been doing, and there have been many Herculean efforts like the one being proposed. And the story is the same every time, is that it does not work as well as the community would hope that their efforts would work. And my fear is that, the community invests in something that is rated for 50 years, and maybe it would have lasted the last 50 years, but with climate change and, the storms getting worse and worse, as your slideshows showed. I mean, the storms are getting more severe, more unpredictable, more frequent. And so I don't know, in my assessing sort of where the money is being spent, I'm not sure that any human intervention will really, it might slow it surely will slow the erosion, but is it going to slow the erosion enough to justify these costs, as opposed to what most communities end up doing is retreating from the bluff line entirely with any, structures, tennis courts, the buildings, and saying, that this is where we are a glacial dump of sand and rocks. And this is going to keep happening no matter what we try to do. So, sort of looking at the long term of it, retreating and maybe, building up and out a little bit at the turn, where the turn is right now. And, building on the other side of the road, will that eventually be gone too? Yeah. I mean, I don't know in any of our lifetimes, but just trying to see, where is this? If the village is going to be spending money, what's the most practical way to go about it? That's what I'm measuring. We're trying to weigh right now.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
There is. Please hold.
Hi, Myrna.
Hi, everybody. Margot, your presentation and the visuals were really, really helpful for me to get those aerial views of what's happening. And I know this is going to be a really huge, overwhelming project. I have to agree with what Rebecca just said, that when I've spoken with people in our community, most people do not even know, people that I've spoken to are not even aware of what's really happening with the bluff. They'll go, what? And they're not members and they don't really go up there. They may use the beach, but they're really not tuned into what's happening. And so I'm hoping that, that this message gets out before any types of bids and other types of moving forward happens. I think it's important that we have some type of a public hearing on this, presenting the visuals, presenting all sides, presenting what's going to happen in the future. As Stan just said, Rebecca just said, we have no idea what's happening. And this is a really, really huge, huge village issue. So I'm hoping that that you and the board begin to start getting the message out so that it doesn't hit us all in the spring or before any type of bond issue, that we have to let our residents know what's happening and what we're up against. But I thank you all for your concern, and the pictures are absolutely devastating, and I go there and I see them myself. And so I hope that all of us working together can come up with the right solution. Thank you. I also have some other comments based on what some other things that were said, so I'd like to speak now. And one was, first of all, one was that I love the idea of the suffragette thing that's going to be happening. And I also want to remind everybody, and Margot, you especially, and Stan, who have had backgrounds of athletics and sports, is that we're going to be celebrating 50 years of Title IX this year. So I have my t-shirts already made, and Stan's got a smile on his face. Margot, you benefited from it. So I just want to let you know that along with the suffragettes, this is a really, really important issue that I hope that all of us celebrate, and how it's affected all of our lives. The other thing that I want to mention is, Stan, please, no pickleball at the basketball courts. We went through this years ago.
I know.
Yeah, we went through this, but here's my suggestion. If any way could use of the high school court after their tennis season is over. The high school courts has the same surface as would be needed for pickleball. Another thing is, what's the surface at the ice skating rink underneath all of that? Is that a concrete surface? Do you know?
Those are pavers. They're very uneven.
Oh, they're pavers.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, you know how I feel about the suspension of any type of basketball. And I'm hoping that before anything is initiated, I know it's very popular with pickleball, but please do not take away the use of those basketball courts, even a small time during the day, and let them be open for the kids who use it as club activities, other organizations, other groups that come in. I'll have to get out my notes from what happened several years ago. But that's all I really wanted to say. And thank you for giving this opportunity to speak. And Margot, your presentation was really good. And I think it's time that we get out the word to our residents, what's happening at the country club with the Bluff. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Myrna. Anybody else have comment?
There is another attendee, Patricia Zimmerman.
Just while she's coming in, Stan, have we looked into maybe having an intermunicipality agreement or renting the pickleball courts from Belterre? Don't they have pickleball courts?
They have one court up there. We got bad news from the school today. They're going to be running their own summer camp, so we will not have use of their tennis courts. These programs are for village residents, and the only alternative we have right now, unfortunately, Myrna, is the basketball court that would be used by village residents, portable nets, portable lines. We don't plan on using those courts all day long. But again, it's a village facility, and we're village residents, and we're looking for village programs. Hopefully down the road we'll have pickleball someplace. I think we're missing the boat. We're missing. I'm telling you.
What boat are we missing, Stan?
We need pickleball courts badly. It's a sport that I can't describe how rapidly it's growing. And
we all know how rapidly it's growing.
We don't have it. We don't have it. But we've got to somehow get it. It's going to be part of a plan up on a hill, I hope.
Bruce, can you unmute, please? Thank you.
Apologies again. The state education department will subsidize athletic facilities. And I'm wondering if there's any way that there could be a partnership with the school district. I'm not sure where the land would be. The school's got property. I know behind Scraggy Hill up at the highest point there. They've got some level land. But basically, we could find a way to make more space for pickleball. If we cannot do it up at the country club, I know Stan would really like to do it in the country club, and I think it's a great idea. But possibly get some funding in the bargain and accommodate both residents and the school district according to schedule. That's what I got.
Great idea. Somebody's got to implement the idea. It's all about implementing all these great ideas. Pat Zimmerman,
Good evening.
how you doing?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm good,
wanna
thanks.
Thank you so much for that presentation. My husband and I go down to the beach year round. We enjoy it, so just go sit in the car, watch the ocean, very peaceful. And I've been watching that hill for a long time, and it's rather scary. I don't think it's something that can be put on a back burner. If you have holes in a dam, you're not going to stop it until it's fixed. It's going to continually erode. My one question I have is, how much of that erosion goes deep underneath the clubhouse, the tennis courts? How far? I mean, if you don't do anything, the building's going to come off the side of the cliff.
Well, I mean, so, you know, I'm just gonna share my screen again for a second because there's a couple images in here that actually, when I was looking at these images today and kind of trying to zoom in, we're seeing like a different type of scouring. Hold on a second. You see this here. You see, we're getting these lines that are coming down the hill.
Those are roots, right?
No, this kind of like a line of drainage that's coming and scouring and depositing. So these lines are kind of happening. And let me just go to this last picture. I'm sorry if I'm making anybody seasick here, but you see the hill here?
Yes.
See how it has these deep lines? See, here's this deep line here in the center by the edge of the tennis court.
Yeah, it's
You know,
like
I'm
a
starting
crack.
to, yeah, I'm just starting to look at this and the way it kind of breaks off in pieces, but there's no real way of knowing, you know, what's actually happening. But you can see these lines are scouring. It's you know,
Doesn't
again,
look
I'm
like-
not a I'm sorry if I'm making people seasick or whatever, but you can see how you get chunks that kind of lop off, but there's definitely, it's just hard to know. I mean, I was able to meet with some of the people from Stony Brook University. And they, you know, you'd have to look at the type of soil that's under there, if it's clay or if it's sandy. You know, one of the engineers said he thinks it's the clay tennis courts. I mean, I can't even imagine how that would impact the erosion, but you know, I don't have, I really don't know. What I'm growing more and more concerned about is actually protecting the road.
Yes.
Because for the visuals, I didn't realize how much the scouring of that groin was actually going to potentially have the impact on the roadway. So, you know, there's a lot of different things to have to look at, because we definitely, one thing I think we all agree on is that we want to have continuous access to our beach.
Yes. Thank you so very much. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Thank you, Pat.
Pat, could you state your address, please?
Of course, I'm sorry. 175 Windward Court South.
Bruce, did you have your hand up again? And you need to unmute yourself, please.
I know. I'm sorry. Apologies. Look, basically, you just made an interesting point as an addendum to your presentation, which was a lot of our problem is coming downhill as opposed to just direct wind and lower water undermining. And I'm wondering if we should be getting a line of sandbags up there quickly to keep water from running downhill.
So we, Joe and I met with Holtzmacher, and I asked for the installation of sandbags or these geotech bags at the base of the driveway. Holtzmarker is hopefully going to bring them in, or our highway department, but I haven't seen them. But yeah, that anything that can
I'm
help.
talking about that whole, the whole existing line, that 30 feet or whatever, you wouldn't have 30 feet of sandbags, but that all the top of the bluff, a line of sandbags to keep water from going over the top.
Agreed.
Okay.
Barbara Sabatino's in the room. Hi, Barb.
Hi, Barbara Sabatino, 2 Westview Avenue, Port Jefferson. I would like to agree with Myrna that a lot of village residents are unaware of what's happening up at the country club and the erosion. My sister was up at the country club recently. She's not a Port Jeff resident, and she informed me about the erosion. I kind of didn't believe her. I didn't think it was as bad as she was describing. And after seeing your presentation, Margot, I'm going to call and apologize right after this meeting. I have a question about public hearing mailings that probably Mr. Egan can answer. I know that they have to be mailed 10 days prior to the meeting. And the post office has publicly stated to save money, they're slowing down delivery of mail. So I'm waiting for my own public notice about Mather Hospital, and that meeting is on Thursday. I haven't received it yet, and neither is one of my neighbors who I gather her mail for her. So I would like to know if the 10-day mailing length is statewide, or is it something that we can adjust for ourselves to maybe 14 days?
Yes, so that's a good question, Barbara, and I think that that's a good criticism of the post office and what they're grappling with, volume-wise, work-wise, or what have you. It's a state law requirement on public hearings, so it's not something that we set by village code. The more interesting question is whether that's a minimum, we can increase that. I'd have to look, but I know that everybody uses the same standard under the general municipal law and the state village law set by Albany. But it's an interesting question as to whether that's a minimum, we can increase that for additional time. I'll look into that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good to see you, Barb.
And you as well, thank you.
Can I ask a question? Is mailing the only form of notification?
Mailing and posting are the only 2 requirements. So they put the poster up somewhere, post the project, and then they have the mailing. Excuse me.
Right. So this, I guess my question is, Barbara, it's 2-part. You're a resident, the hearing's happening because you're a member of the planning board, but you're trying to ask how, is it sufficient that because if my neighbors aren't getting the mail, it's kind of like I just showed you guys this presentation of a bluff that's disappearing in front of our eyes. And you're like, well, we didn't know about it. You know what I'm saying? So if they don't get the piece of mail, how do they know? And what's our obligation to notify them? Right. It's posted, right?
I had said many years ago that, they publish these notices in the paper, but we can't make people read the legal notices in the paper.
Right.
And in fact, in our last planning board meeting, somebody was asking me about, were those notice signs in front of Mather, and I said, well, there are signs there, but I drove past too fast to see if it was for the current hearing or the one from zoning board, because a couple of months ago they had signs up for a previous public hearing that they were expired from November. So I'm sure that the new ones are up. Do people pull over to read them as they're driving up Belterre Road? I highly doubt it. I think it's important for my neighbors to be aware of, because they're going to be looking at this project.
Yeah, sure.
The impact of the staging as things are being built. But that leads me to one more question. The notices are sent to the property owners. Yes? Okay.
Yes.
What if the property is being rented? Unless the landlord turns around and tells the tenant that something's going on to affect their quality of life, they may never know.
Correct. The tenants, tenants don't get the notice unless, it happens to be the mailing address, but the mailing address is the owner. So you
Yes.
could own the property and that owner could live in Sands Point and the owner would get the notice.
Yes, so
It's
then,
who pays the taxes. It's all, the mailing is generated off of the tax roll.
so if we have that situation, the landlord doesn't turn around to the tenant and say, hey, you may be interested in attending this meeting because it's going to affect you, they may never know.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that might be something, I don't know if that's something that can be looked into as far as not only does it go to the taxpayer, but if the taxpayer is not living at that property, perhaps notice to the resident of the property, just by going, resident 590 Beltier Road.
Mhm. That's interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Barb. You're looking well. Retirement's agreeing with you.
It's great. Everybody should start off retired.
Well, you deserve it. Anybody else in the audience there, Kevin?
Yes, we have Mr. Todd Garland coming in.
Can you hear me?
We can. Hey, Todd, how you doing?
Hey, Marco. Great. Hey, just
Good.
a couple of points. I'm leaning with Stan. We have to look at the cause of the erosion in front of the country club. Basically, it was increased when the seawall on the East Beach was put in. That drove the waves to the west. If you put in a seawall in front of the club, now you'll drive the wall or drive the waves to your neighbor's house. I think the smart money in this village will say, take down the country club, 900,000 demolition cost is nothing compared to what it would cost to do the whole project. I think you repurpose the dump, you build the freaking country club back up there, you put in your basic granite wall below the country club currently, like you did along the seawall on the East Beach. That takes that, throw in some vegetation. Maybe the whole thing cost a couple of $1 million. I know you showed the picture of the vegetation on the Belterre private lands. I went down there and, that's the third, fourth time they've done that. Those walls have totally collapsed down there. But I would vote, and I know a number of people that would vote to have the country club moved back and not spend the money on phase 1 and phase 2. In addition to that, I would suggest hiring your own food and beverage person. You hire staff. You now have the village doing the vending and collect the money internally and use profits from that venture, or if you don't like that, rent from the vendor to pay for the bond. Now, what that does for you, if you work it that way, you never have to go to the village residents to vote on a bond because the bond's being paid for via the new country club.
So, Todd, you're a businessman, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you have a license agreement with a vendor who
Yeah,
is
I know.
running.
Right. I know where you're going with this.
Statement? Excuse me?
I know where you're going with this, Margot. You have a
Okay.
license agreement with the vendor. So, I'm just going to throw this out to you. You just let Mother Nature do its thing. You keep the country club there as long as possible. And eventually that country club is going to be condemned due to an act of nature, thereby, nullifying the contract.
Yeah, okay, so that'll happen in 4 or 5 years from now, probably.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Garland, could you please state your address?
Yeah, it's 8 Rosita Lane, Port Jefferson, New York.
Thanks, Todd.
All right.
Anybody else in the audience?
No further hands up. One just came up. Stand by. Don Pollock.
Hey, Don, you there? Hey, Don.
Is he on mute?
I have no idea.
He is. I'm gonna try a different tact. Give me a second. Okay, Don, you're on. You're on.
I think you can hear me now. It's final labor to unmute. About the last gentleman's statement, okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay, if a bond is created and being paid for by funds from the country club, the village is still the ultimate responsibility of that. And with the village being the ultimate responsibility, okay, of that bond, okay, I believe it would still have to go to a public vote. That's number one. Maybe Brian could answer that question.
That's correct, Don. You're 100% right. We're the owner of that property. The village is responsible for it. I think that Todd's point was that I don't think he meant the responsibility would only be the country club. I think he meant that would be the funding source for it.
Oh, no, I understand who's going to fund it, okay, but the question, right, I believe you made the statement that, okay, no, it wouldn't have to be voted on by the public. And I think that's where, okay, it was a wrong statement because it still has, I believe it still has to go to a vote to the public.
Correct. You are right.
Okay. Second thing is the town of Smithtown, all right, rebuilt and the bluff at Kings Park. And they did it with mainly state and federal money. All right, now, I don't know how it was done, who they went to, okay? I've tried to find out on my own, and it's very difficult because some people are working, some people are viral, some people are home. Okay, maybe if somebody on the board, okay, was just able to talk, okay, to somebody in town of Smithtown, all right, they'd be able to find out exactly the way they went about it. Not saying that we don't know what we're doing, okay, but any help with getting funds would be an aid to the village.
Yep, understood. Yep, we're talking to state and federal funding agencies, Don. We got turned down by FEMA. So we're trying to go to a different bucket of money for hazard mitigation that FEMA has. So we are talking to all the various funding sources, but part of the challenge with trying to get the funding is you have to have the project and you have to have your numbers, which we now have. And we're burnt. We got all cylinders fired. It's basically, but if there's no tolerance in the community for funding a project to stabilize the bluff, then, because that's kind of the sense I'm hearing tonight, then, I'm gonna take next couple of weeks off.
Well, you're entitled to, well, maybe 1 week. I don't know about a couple of weeks, but let's not push the point, Marco.
I'm losing sleep. I don't know about you guys, but this is not, something that just solves itself. This is a pretty significant issue we have here. So,
we talk about it. We talk about it, but there are very few people, okay, that even though it's viral, there are very few people that attend this meeting and know what's going on from the meeting's viewpoint. Okay, so my own opinion is I think it'd be very important, try and get all of the figures that you can together. Okay, and show the comparison and do this as quickly as possible. What it's going to cost to do A, what it's going to cost to do B, where the money might be coming from since we don't have an answer yet, and then put it out to the public. Because like you said, otherwise you're spinning your wheels, you're spending a lot of time doing a lot of work, and if it all gets shot down, okay, it's been a lot of time and energy wasted.
No, I understood. So, you know, part of the challenge of putting the numbers together is trying to come up with a plan that people can agree to, at least as a basis, without having, you know, so, you know, we, you know, that's why I kind of marked it out as phase 1 and phase 2, because, you know, if you don't at least have your basis, it's hard to know where you're going. If we're not going to have the tolerance to spend $5 million on stabilizing the tow line, then the upland plan will continue to change. And that's just going to be a hard sell for asking people, maybe we're just moving amenities back for 2 or 3 years. That's easy to do. And adding some upland drainage, that's easy to do. And sitting back and waiting for Mother Nature to take her course. I don't even need to go to public bond for that kind of stuff. That's easy stuff to figure out.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
You know, the challenge is, you know, I learned a lot tonight, and I'm glad I'm sharing so that I can learn more and get an understanding of where the Board of Trustees sees this thing and where the tolerance level is for the community. That's very important information. I'll continue to do that and I'll share it with you. It's just, I'm probably not going to move at an aggressive pace because, you know, I think we lost 30 linear feet, and since maybe 2018, it's a pretty aggressive problem that we're seeing happen up there.
Yeah, with the storms that we're having, you're 100% correct. It's happening a lot quicker.
Yeah,
right?
so
And
we'll keep you guys posted.
just like to mention one thing about pickleball courts too, and I know this isn't going to sit well with some people, but you know, not everything does. Okay, we have 6 acres of property, okay, that we're talking about, you know, uptown. All right, man, perfect place for pickle courts and other facilities also, which the entire village, okay, could take part in. And just as a thought.
Absolutely. You know, so we're hoping that at some point, you know, the Acre Park Committee will be making a presentation to the Board of Trustees and, you know, presenting their findings and, you know, bringing all of us up to speed, and the community will have to make a decision about what they want to see happen up there as well. You know, it's all about community input, and that's really critical.
Thank you very much. And I don't believe I didn't give my address again. It's 7 Corey Court, Port Jefferson. I know you know it.
Great. Don, I again invite you to send an email, and anyone to send an email to me, you know, trustee-casse@portjeff.com with any public input about the 6 acre park, so that the committee can review it, research it, see what is viable, what is not. That is the place that we're at right now. You know, we have a sketch of an idea right now, but it's very important to be incorporating public and board input as we go. So I hope to see an email from you.
Yes, you shall. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Anybody else in the audience there, Kevin, tonight?
No further hands are up.
Excellent. Okay. Bruce Miller has his hand up.
Always unmute, Bruce, please.
Move to adjourn.
Oh, there you go. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Hi, guys. Be well. See you in 2+ weeks on the 22nd at 3:30, okay?
Good night.
Thank you, Mayor.